qui est en fait la collectivité locale. Parce que nous pensons que nous devons renforcer la capacité de la collectivité locale à être maîtresse de son propre développement à la base au niveau de la gestion durable des terres. Être maîtresse de son développement au niveau des actions de gestion durable des terres, c'est aussi d'inscrire les actions de gestion durable des terres dans leur plan triennaux ou bien leur plan de développement à long terme. À ce niveau, il faut dire que notre plateforme a développé avec le RESAT, le réseau de certification, un module de formation. Alors, le module de formation, c'est formation à l'action, c'est essayer en fait de donner les outils aux collectivités locales de monter des projets de gestion durable des terres et gérés par la communauté locale. Alors, au niveau du plaidoyer aussi, nous essayons d'amener les populations à la base à être sensibilisées au niveau des bonnes pratiques, des innovations, parce qu'au niveau des politiques, sur le plan national, si la base n'est pas très impliquée, la réplicabilité va être un peu difficile à gérer. Alors, sur le plan global, disons que dans le plaidoyer, nous essayons aussi de porter les politiques au niveau des secteurs. Quand je parle de secteur, je parle aussi du secteur privé que nous demandons en fait la mobilisation. Nous essayons aussi d'être dans des dynamiques sous-régionales, comme par exemple la mise en œuvre de la Grande Muraille Verte, où nous sommes partie intégrante, à travers aussi le programme Fleuve, qui veut que nous participons à travers le plaidoyer pour mobiliser en fait la communauté et puis tous les acteurs au niveau national à renforcer aussi leur capacité à aller en fait à l'utilisation des bonnes pratiques. Parce qu'au niveau de l'échelle, à l'échelle nationale, il faut dire que nous sommes beaucoup plus sur un alignement des politiques, un décloisonnement aussi des acteurs et un décloisonnement aussi des synergies. C'est en cela qu'on peut aussi parler de réplicabilité et de mise à l'échelle. Alors, en parlant de mise à l'échelle, au jour d'aujourd'hui, il est beaucoup plus question de mobiliser les acteurs au niveau national comme au niveau de la base. La mise à l'échelle demande aussi que tous les acteurs soient formés. Il faut aussi qu'il y ait une certaine transparence et une certaine lisibilité au niveau des politiques et des synergies pour l'implication réelle de tous les acteurs. Donc, voici un peu ce que nous faisons.
Merci Pierre. Je vois que plusieurs panélistes, quand ils font leur intervention, ils me regardent. Mais ce n'est pas moi qu'il faut convaincre, c'est les personnes qui sont en face. Donc regardez les personnes, mais ne me regardez pas, moi je suis convaincu hein, de ce que vous me dites. Last but not least, we are going to give the floor to Sarah Sher, founder, chair and CEO of Agriculture Partners. Agriculture Partners have been a long-term partners of the GEF, and we'll be pleased to hear. And we have been asking to different key speakers not to summarize the session, but to highlight really key points and messages for the future and for like a take-home messages. But we're pleased to hear also about your own experience, Sarah, about this platform for better dialogue. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all of you. That was an amazingly rapid review of a wide diversity of multi-stakeholder platforms and how they can be operating. And I think it demonstrates really a global move in this direction as reflecting the systems thinking that was talked about before, that if we don't understand how all the different parts of the system work, we're not going to be able to solve problems. I wanted to focus on three particular things that came out for me from this discussion. The first one is that multi-stakeholder platforms, people often refer to them as dialogue platforms, and some are designed mainly for dialogue. But what you could see in the examples today is that multi-stakeholder platforms and partnerships do much, much more. They are mechanisms for building trust among different groups in part because they provide the space and the facilitation for them, the different actors, to learn from one another, to teach one another, and to deepen their understanding of the role that they play in the larger system, and to have others understand that role. They facilitate innovation by really forcing people to move beyond their normal assumptions because of being in dialogue with others. And these differences result in concrete ways of reducing cost. We had some examples here about doing capacity building together, increasing effectiveness and efficiency, and reducing the risk to people throughout the system. We had the mentions of the market innovations that came through these MSPs, and also mechanisms for co-financing and co-implementation. When you think about MSPs, you can think about different functions they do together in sequence. They assess the situation together. They develop a vision and a strategy together. They plan and design together. They implement and communicate together, and then they monitor. And I really like the emphasis that was made by a couple of people that the monitoring is mobilized by the stakeholder group and reported back to the stakeholder group. It's no longer a separate technical function. The second point that I think was very interesting for me, there was a lot of the examples we had here were at the global, regional, and national level. And I think that stakeholder groups at this level tend to focus on policy, on big strategy, on mobilization, coming up with the Bonn Challenge. There's a lot of examples here, the national platforms that were done in Uganda. And I think that's really critical. However, I do want to emphasize the points that was made, particularly in the last presentation by Spong, that we're really talking about multi-stakeholder partnerships also at the local, district, landscape, territorial level, which is the place where the people who live in that place and have to, on a daily basis, interact with one another around the way that land and resources are managed, also are very powerful multi-stakeholder platforms. And I know at Eco-Agriculture Partners and with the Landscapes for People, Food, and Nature initiative, we've documented more than 450 of these large landscape partnerships. And I think it's very important, particularly when we're sitting at the CCD, to realize that, yes, we're looking at MSPs as a means of implementing global, regional, and national strategies and goals, but they're also a mechanism for bottom-up, from really having the voice of the base be organized themselves and be able to speak to policymakers from the field and from the landscape scale. And that's really important. And I think there's some really interesting examples from the Landscapes for People, Food, and Nature initiative, which itself was a dialogue platform, in terms of developing in Africa, the African Landscape Dialogue, the Mesoamerican Landscape Dialogue in Central America and Mexico, where the leaders of territorial and landscape initiatives could speak together about their challenges of multi-stakeholder partnerships and could themselves organize to express a request at the national and regional level to get some support from that. The third point that came out for me was that we're really starting to learn how to do multi-stakeholder platforms right. And I think one of the things that came out for me is there are a number of very common barriers to having them be effective that were really done well in many of the cases that were discussed here today. One of them is people thought a lot about how to organize them. The structure of MSPs depends on their function, and people have thought clearly and differentiated between, Uganda was an example, the difference between the permanent secretaries platform and the technical platforms, and they've figured out ways to make decisions and to proceed processes. The second thing is that there's now financing for this very critical function. It used to be that it wasn't in anybody's budget, and people were really volunteering their time to participate in MSPs, and now that's recognized as a concrete part of the thing. And the third is you're now having policymakers respecting the results and the outcomes from these multi-stakeholder dialogues and planning processes, and I think that's been really very exciting. I could say much more, but I know that we're very tight on time. I want to just give one little PR piece here that UNDP, Eco-Agriculture, Rainforest Alliance, and a number of other partners are organizing an event on Wednesday from 1 to 3, one of the side events, that is about a global initiative to support multi-stakeholder platforms working on land and resource management. So I encourage you to go to hear about 1,000 landscapes for 1 billion people.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I would like to invite participants for a round of applause, and thank you very much for the different panelists. I would like to invite you to leave the stage, and I'm going to give the floor to Asha to introduce the next session. Thank you.
Thank you to the speakers of this session on platforms. I think it very well laid out the importance of having platforms at different scales, different levels, as well as different types of platforms. These we see encourage real systemic impact as well as transformational change. So I now have the pleasure of introducing our CEO, who is on her way. She will be speaking on land-based transformation and highlighting some of the key GEF programs or impact programs, as well as some global projects that demonstrate the potential to generate real impact and transformational change. She is on her way. If you give us 2 minutes, please. Thank you.